Hey, this is Brett the Hitman Hart, best there is, best there was, and the best there ever will be. And you're listening to the Smacked Raw podcast.
Hey folks, welcome to the Smack Draw Podcast, your one-stop shop for all your WWE, AEW, and NXT recaps, reviews, pay-per-view predictions. It's Kyle over here joining us today. We got SES Vince. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, what's up, Kyle? Ready to talk some wrestling on this good Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning wrestling. Oh, I love it. Yeah, man. Hey, listen, really quick. I think we've been getting some flack for the intro, so I'll try to cut it down some. We're a wrestling podcast. You can find us on most streaming platforms, including Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. Also, we're on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit us up in the comments too. We'll be active there. We also got Twitter accounts at the Smackdraw Pod. Hit us up over there. Myself at the Kai Tai Show and Vince at SES Vince. But yeah, you guys, thank you for joining us today. We're going to be covering Monday Night Raw. It is the go-home show for Survivor Series and I guess technically War Games since NXT is involved in this stuff now. So that's actually interesting to think of like one show representing a dual go-home show. But
Well, to be fair, Triple H did say that this Wednesday on NXT, the door is open for all brands to show up. So that might be the true go home show for War Games. But Kyle, let shameless plug here. This is technically the go home show for our 100th episode. This is episode 99, if I'm not mistaken. If I did the math
yeah,
correctly, I crunched the numbers. This is episode 99. This is our own go home show. So it kind of lined up perfectly with Survivor Series.
yeah, so we'll go ahead and plug that now. Make sure you tune in tomorrow, Wednesday. Normally we throw up NXT and AEW recaps Wednesday evening. Instead, we're actually going to have a special little 100 episode. Nothing too major, but we hope you guys tune in. I believe we're going to have the full cast present, all 5 of us there, including maybe a special appearance from a former castmate. And then also on top of that, for the rest of the week's schedule, Thursday, we'll go ahead. We're having NXT and AEW. I believe we're shooting those episodes together into one super show. Along the lines, also on Thursday, we will have our War Games predictions episode. I'm not sure yet if that's going to be a YouTube exclusive or if we'll throw that up on the podcast sites as well. And then, of course, you've got SmackDown on Friday night, Saturday morning-ish, along with Survivor Series predictions Saturday, and then War Games Saturday night, and Jesus, Survivor Series Sunday. It's gonna be a heavy week of recording here on out. Oh my gosh! But yeah. Good luck keeping up with all of this. Oh man. But hey, listen, we're here to talk about Raw, man. And for a go-home show, I really don't get my hopes up for these anymore. But I gotta say, this episode of Raw delivered quite heavily, man. It was a lot of fun to watch, especially the second half of it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, honestly, there was a couple stuff that I can nitpick here. Like, for instance, like obviously the opener was Becky Lynch setting up a tag match because she came out and she was challenging Shayna and Bailey. That didn't happen. Iconics came out, led to Charlotte coming out. Impromptu tag match, as WWE likes to do. That was the opener.
Well, don't forget, after Charlotte, we had Samoa Joe come out for whatever reason.
Oh yeah. So that was kind of cool because I was at work watching this, and the match is about to start up, and then Joe's music hits. I'm like, wait, hold up, time out. Wait, what's Joe doing here? Does he got beef with Charlotte or something? No, he came out nice, all dressed up in the suit. And then we cut to commercial. We come back. He joins commentary, and honestly, he was a nice, refreshing,
never
voice.
Knew how much I want Samoa Joe on commentary. That guy needs to be like, if he is not wrestling, he needs to be permanent commentator.
For real.
I think didn't they do that with one of the Usos for a while?
Yeah.
While he was injured, or his brother wasn't wrestling because his other brother was injured. But one of the Usos took over commentary for a minute, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think Jay Uso was injured and Jimmy Uso was taking over some SmackDown commentary responsibilities. And also, too, if you remember back way back when, which is funny, ironically enough, because he's back doing commentary for WWE in a way. CM Punk actually, while he was nursing an injury on Raw, he was actually doing commentary, which led to the famous John Cena dropping his Pepsi on the floor, his Diet Coke on the floor. So there's been precedent for wrestlers coming on commentary and then just knocking it out of the park, and I think Joe did just that.
Yeah.
But going back to this, what I didn't really get, so like what I didn't like going into a go home show is that a lot of the matches were being announced via Twitter. So Charlotte was like, in the only thing I took from her promo was her bragging that she also had a match at Survivor Series, and I'm over here thinking, wait, she has a match at Survivor Series? When did that happen? Is she challenging Kabuki Warriors? And no, she's apparently leading the Raw Survivor Series team. And I went throughout the entire episode of Raw waiting for them to tell me who's on that Survivor Series women's team, and they didn't tell me once. I had to go online. I legit actually stumbled into it on their Instagram page, and I saw the team, and I'm like, wait, what? When did this get announced? Like, what's going on? Like, I was just completely lost.
Yeah, it's a weird line to walk because they do let social media build feuds and announce certain things, but it is different when they don't recap it on the main show. When they're just like, oh yeah, via Twitter, this is what they announced, or even if they just blank out on it altogether. It's I get it, like WWE does have like one of, if not the world's largest social media following, but you can't rely on that, especially for big four pay-per-views, to announce matches like exclusively via the social media sites and then not at least give a brief recap on the show itself for those who maybe aren't on the sites or missed it that day. Because I mean, posts get buried, you know what I mean? Unless you're on that post within an hour or so, the junk will get buried and it's very easily to miss. Because yeah, even to this point, I still have yet to see the women's team, what it's comprised of.
Oh, okay. So that was actually my follow-up question. Have you taken a look at the team, and what are your thoughts on it?
Now you can go ahead and fill me in on the team.
Okay, so it is Charlotte being team captain. Natalia's on the team. Kabuki Warriors, both Kyrie and Asuka are in there. And here's a random name for you. Sarah Logan is the 5th member.
Yeah, Raw is screwed. That's my initial thoughts hearing that. That is the most dysfunctional team that you could have.
But here's the thing. You look over at SmackDown's team, you have Sasha being the captain. Then you have Nikki Cross, who Sasha didn't want the team to begin with. Then you have Carmella, Dana Brooke, and who's their 5th member? I'm trying to recall their 5th member. Oh, Lacey Evans. Okay. There's literally no continuity there whatsoever
on either team so far. Well, you have two feuding, and I'm going to use the term tag team loosely, referring to Charlotte and Natalya, and the Kabuki Warriors, because these two teams just got done feuding with each other.
They might not even be done because Asuka and Natalya had a match on Raw last night too.
You got people butting heads there, but at least over on SmackDown, we had last week Sasha stand next to Nikki Cross without conflict. So as much as it doesn't make sense, we've at least seen them to get along on one episode. And then do you have NXT's lineup?
No, they actually haven't announced it. So neither the NXT men's Survivor Series team or women's Survivor Series team has been announced. They're probably going to set that up this Wednesday night on NXT. So that's the only thing that hasn't been set in stone, if I'm not mistaken. Everything else has been set.
So between the two teams, I'd give the advantage to SmackDown.
Nah, man. Like I love me some Sasha. She's my favorite. But if you look in terms of talent, you at least have the women's tag team champions on Raw.
I'm not looking at talent. I'm looking at clashes. Like Kabuki Warriors, I could see Kabuki Warriors, Natalya and Charlotte clashing throughout the whole match, and that costing them their team. That's what I'm basing it off of, not level of talent on the team. But I think story role wise, that team's gonna clash with each other, and then Sarah Logan's just in there for nothing. You
And
know,
maybe they're gonna use this elevator. Usually Survivor Series, like they have that one random like person that like lasts the
man.
longest and just like knocks it out of the park and like
I don't
surprises
know
everybody.
because you got three Survivor Series triple threat matches. Uh, if I recall correctly, because we got the women's, we got the men's, and then we got the tag teams.
They
Okay,
scrapped the tag team this year.
they
What they're
did
doing is
scrap
the
that.
tag. Yeah, they're doing the tag champions triple threat this year,
Okay, so that at least
which
is
is a little bit more
better.
cleaner. Yeah,
Yeah, so thank God, because that's what's that like? Oh
but it had a
Jesus.
whole Royal Rumble like full of 30 people in that ring. Had to decide to do like a Survivor Series tag team elimination
30
triple
guys
threat.
lining the damn ring. Oh my God.
Yeah, man, it would have been
Uh,
a whole Royal Rumble, man.
yeah, exactly. The road. Oh, geez. But what I mean is, it's they're gonna have to rush one of those matches, and I haven't they haven't put anything behind the women's team, whereas the men's team is getting plugged on the shows. So that tells me the women's match is going to be rushed, and we're not really going to make a star out of anyone on there. That's just going to be there just to be there. Um,
Oh, I mean, I
that's
don't.
my that's
I'm
my
not.
gut that's my gut reaction to it.
No,
Is
but my whole take is like I'm not saying like Sarah Logan's gonna out there and just like Superman that whole thing and just like go ahead and like dominate. I'm just saying like she's gonna go in there, maybe get like 2 or 3 eliminations for her team and like get a good showing before she gets eliminated. Nothing too big, but enough to like highlight her and like maybe get some momentum behind her going into whatever they're planning for her.
I got you. Okay.
Hmm. But going back into Raw, like we were talking about, it was Charlotte and Becky Lynch again linked together for whatever reason, taking on the Iconics. It was for the most part an easy win, even though they got jumped
Dude,
at the start.
it was like a glorified squash match. The second Charlotte was able to isolate, I think what Billy Kay, it
Yeah, it
was
was Billy Kay.
it was a wrap. There was no bag. There was no hot tags or nothing. Billy Kay lasted longer in the figure eight just because it took Becky Lynch a moment to get to her spot to suplex Peyton Royce.
Yeah, for sure.
Like it was just due to Becky Lynch not being in place made Billy Kay look a little bit stronger because she had to hold out on tapping for a moment. Um, but nah, man, for me, this match was a throwaway match. It was nice to get Iconics on television again, and we could sit here and debate on how to book the Iconics because they are such a respectable female tag team and just tag team in general, honestly. But
Just a great act. Like I
yeah,
love their backstage stuff. Like legit, they're so funny, especially Billy Kay. They're just hilarious.
it just shows that like WWE does have trouble when you have a personality or personalities that are good at comedy being able to make them a threat, because it's like if you're not good at comedy, I mean if you're good at comedy then they're not going to make you like an imposing threat in the ring. I can't really think of one good comedic act that actually looks like he's title contention outside of our truth, and even then, that's like a comedy title. You know what I mean? Like there's
Yeah, even like going back to like guys like Big Show or Mark Henry when they were comedy acts or like not taken seriously, they weren't title contenders, but they were able to switch the gear and then make them title contenders. But at that
then
point, they
drop the comedy.
exactly. So there's no like in between with them. It's like
Yeah,
you can't have your cake and eat it too with when it comes to stuff like that, which kind of sucks if you think about it because like I don't know like yeah I guess maybe Stone Cold when he was heel Stone Cold was the only president for like someone being a comedic act but also kind of taken seriously, but
yeah,
that was the first
and
time I've ever seen Stone Cold as a chicken shit heel though. I don't know how I like that.
yeah, you could maybe make the argument for Mick Foley too. Um,
Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
but man, we have to go back 20 years just to get a good reference. You know what I mean? Like so,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I think that's unfortunately what's sidelining the Iconics is they don't know how to make them a threat because they're so silly in their personality. But Becky Lynch and Charlotte do pick up the victory. Afterwards, they're jumped by Shayna Baszler and I want to say
Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke.
Okay, yeah. They end up beating down everybody in the ring as they exit out. Becky Lynch and Charlotte come too, which I was happy for because I was like, dang, you guys were practically at 95% still, even after your match. You shouldn't just take a couple punches and you're laid out. So yeah, Becky Lynch and Charlotte, they come too. They chase them off into the crowd. However, security steps in. Becky Lynch, proving that she's a badass, ends up laying out one of the security guards, but still chooses not to pursue her attackers. She kind of just lays the guy out and then just walks off. She should have laid the guy out and then, scurried through the hole in the wall of the securities and just took off after him. But that's just nitpicking for me.
For sure. But I thought it was cool though, because not a lot of times you see like with these attacks, they just usually just stay in the ring. I'm like, hey, like kind of does the Abe Simpson, like shaking his fist in the air at the kids type of thing. That's kind of what it's been. And Charlotte and Becky are the first like group of people that actually decide, no, we're gonna go run after you, and then security stops them. Okay, the only like continuity thing I will say before we continue on is like, they're the ones that aren't supposed to be here, yet they're the ones being protected from the actual talent that are supposed to be at the show. Like, why is security stopping Becky and Charlotte from attacking
and they didn't jump on the NXT women?
Yeah, like you would think security would jump at the invaders to be like, no, this isn't part of your show, get out of here. Kind of like any kind of like fan that jumps the barricade.
If you run and interfere in a basketball game, and the basketball players try to run you off the court, is security going to be pushing you off the court, or is security pushing back the basketball players?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, I can only imagine that. While you're sitting there still on the court taunting the coaches and players, Oh, that's a very good point. I didn't pick up on that initially. I believe it was after this match we cut backstage. They announced that Ryder and Hawkins had won a match overseas and earned themselves a tag team title shot.
Which I thought was funny because, like, what? When did they get a tag title opportunity? I'm over here trying to figure it out. Like, who did they be?
Yeah, so apparently they won a house show overseas, earned themselves a title shot. So as I believe Ryder is hyping up the match, in come AOP. Finally, AOP is coming out from the dressing room. They get very close to Hawkins and Ryder. I forget who was standing on the right side of the screen, but these dudes were like a hiccup away from kissing each other. It was kind of uncomfortably close, and their head position was really off. I wish I could get a screenshot of it, because I was like, dude, that's
I actually do have a screenshot of it. I'm gonna send that to your Twitter DMs right now.
Yeah,
like it is. So on the right hand side, it's I believe it's Razor looking like he's about to do like the nastiest French kiss to Kurt Hawkins.
Okay, so you know what I'm talking about here. Yeah, I'll throw it up on the Discord really quick here, whenever you get it over.
Okay. I got you because it's pretty funny, like going back to it.
But and then so I wasn't the only one that saw that. I was like, okay, this is yeah, exactly. Okay, so let me bear with us, folks. I know if you're listening to the podcast, there's not going to be a real payoff for you guys.
More incentives to go to the YouTube version from occasion.
Yeah. So here, let me throw it up. There it is. So yeah, there you have it, man. This was a little close for comfort, man. Like, if you look over here on the left, Ryder and Akam, they have a respectable stare-off distance. Hawkins and Razor look like they're playing some gay chicken, and I hope that's not too incentive, but I mean, that's just something like, friends would do once in a while. Scrubs. And I forget who breaks, but one of them breaks, and then they end up AOP ends up beating down Ryder and Hawkins. But man, that was, like I said, that was it was just kind of awkward staring at him. I bet they had a good laugh though. I bet they really had a good laugh
I'm pretty
after
sure.
the
I don't know how they. Okay, so I don't know how they kept the straight face throughout the whole thing. I'm sorry. I would have started laughing if I was Kurt
They
Hawkins. I would have
lingered,
lost
man. They lingered for like it felt like 10 seconds there, man. It was
for sure.
okay. So we're taking away from the moment. Okay, AOP is a like a
No,
dominant
I think that was the
force.
moment. I think like Hawkins and Razor almost locking lips was the moment of the night in that moment of the segment.
Oh my
But yeah,
god, we're
them
so
beating down.
juvenile over here, man. Oh my
But
gosh.
the main thing about that is that for whatever reason they won a tag title match and they were going to be in the main event against Viking Raiders. They got beaten down, so Viking Raiders needed an opponent for the rest of the for the end of the night. So they needed replacement opponents, which would be set up later on.
Yeah, exactly. So we cut back to the ring. We have a match set up between Humberto Carrillo and Carl Anderson. What were they calling Carl Anderson? Like sexy Carl Anderson or something?
I
Like,
think Big Daddy Carl or something. I don't
I
know.
love, dude. I love the nicknames for Carl Anderson that they give him. Like throughout the show, they get like
Carl
Carl's
Abs
Abserson or something like that. Yeah,
Abs
Kyle,
Anderson. Yeah.
Carl Abs Anderson. Yeah, because he really got himself in shape, man.
Oof, yeah.
Yeah, he
Because
did.
if you go back and see his New Japan work, I'm not calling him fat by any means because
Kind of
I'm
had the
not
dad
that.
bod going. He just had a dad
Yeah, he had
bod.
that. He just had a dad bod. I mean, but now like he's really toned up. And here's the thing: the one thing I will say about this is that I love that Umberto is still getting more highlight and more like showcasing, and him taking on Carl Anderson furthers the AJ Styles feud without having to go ahead and have a match with AJ so close to Survivor Series, given that you want that triple threat match between him, Roderick Strong, and Shinsuke. You don't want, as much as I love Umberto, I want to keep AJ Strong, Nakamura intact. Then Umberto can go and try to take the title from AJ after Survivor Series, but I really want to see that triple threat match on Sunday.
Yeah.
So this was a great way to continue the story. It was more, like I said, more of a showcase for At one point, I think it was either it was Luke Gallows or AJ Styles that tried to interfere that caused Street Profits to come out and even up the odds one more time, and then before they cut to commercial, and then we came right back to the match.
So kayfabe wise, why are the Street Profits protecting Umberto? Is it because of their feud of OC, or are they trying to look out for the new guy? Because they're also new. Granted, they both have a common foe in the OC. The OC is attacked both of these, the Street Profits and Umberto. But what do you think is uniting them more? Just common enemy, or looking out for the new fella?
I think it's a little bit of everything because based on what I know from Street Profits from their time in NXT and their time on main rosters, they're pretty chill guys. They don't have a problem with anyone unless you have a problem with them, and they have a problem obviously with the OC when they first started like wrestling on Raw, and they started picking on Umberto, and then in their minds like, we're cool with Umberto, he's been cool with us. We've had beef with these guys. We're not gonna let them jump on this one guy, and they created a bond, an eternal friendship, I guess, within these last couple weeks, and they're all bros now. So I'm guessing that's what it is. I'm guessing it's more like, hey man, Umberto's hey man, so a lot of us Mexicans, we can party, and Street Profits party all the time. There might have been some after parties after Raw that they just been to, and they just bonded, man. Maybe that's where it stems from.
Hell yeah. Anyways, getting back to the match, this is another great showcase match for Humberto Carrillo. Plus, you always like to see Carl Anderson get a singles match. It did come down ultimately to a lot of distractions from AJ Styles and Luke Gallows. At one point, AJ had the ref distracted Luke Gallows, pulled Humberto down on the ropes. Carl Anderson attempted to roll him up, but one of the Street Profits interfered and actually rolled them back over, so it was Anderson getting his shoulders pinned, at which point the referee got back into the match, counted the win for Carrillo. So Carrillo now has a win over Carl Anderson and AJ Styles.
Yeah, exactly. And what was funny too, I don't know if you peeped it too, after they reversed the pinfall, the inside cradle or whatever.
Yeah.
Luke Gallows was trying to get in to like change it or break up the pin, but one of the Street Profits guys were like holding his legs down to stop him too. So very smart by the Street Profits. They're out there like really making moves.
Yeah, man, it was very good, and so of course this leads to an announcement that Carrillo next week will have a U.S. title opportunity against AJ Styles. Very interesting if they're gonna go ahead and push this kid, because right now, I mean, he's white hot. Granted, he has some holes in his game, his promo skills. He's coming along. He does come across as just the very young kid, happy to be there. Can't believe the shine he's getting, but it's also realistic. I'm for it, man. I'm for it. Like I said, I'm for you guys taking chances on making new stars because that's something we just don't see that often. So this is a great opportunity to try and make a new star out of Carrillo, and so let's see where it goes. Following this, we have a match set up. Bobby Lashley's first match in I think they first Raw match in I think they said about 4 or 5 months. We get Lana on the mic. This doesn't really need to be dived too heavy into. Really, they just drive home that this morning Lana has filed for divorce for against Rusev. The crowd is still hot for Rusev Day. It's almost like this angle is somehow working. Like, I hate to say it because I'm off the train. Like, I'm off it now. I'm good. I'm ready for it to be over. I think it's stayed its welcome. However, we're getting a louder reaction for Rusev, especially last night. So
for me, I think it is. It's not that they're getting behind the story. I think it's that everyone, and when I say everyone collectively realizes this story is complete and utter crap. They know that Rusev is an amazing talent and he deserves better. And I think it's more of they're rallying behind Rusev and this like cringe storyline and hoping that something better comes out of it. I don't think it's
good luck.
I don't think it's them like supporting Rusev within the confines of this storyline. It's more of a dude, this is so terrible. Rusev, we love you. This is I think that's just the fans letting Rusev know, letting the company know we love Rusev. We want to see Rusev, but we don't want this. Like,
and but the backstage mentality is we don't care if they're booing or cheering. What we care about is they're getting a reaction. And so I backstage are seeing this as a success because they're getting a reaction out of the audience, and that's just going to further fuel the fire. It's like if you want an angle to die, you just need apathy. And you just need to like not react and they'll abandon the angle. But if you're out there booing or cheering and because of something being so terrible, they're just gonna keep going. And this is gonna go to TLC at least. This is definitely going well beyond Survivor Series. This is gonna keep it going. I recently got SmackDown tickets. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'd rather be to go to Raw or SmackDown because either way, it's like I either would have to go to Raw and put up with the Bobby Lashley angle, or I'm going to SmackDown and I got to put up with that stupid Roman Reigns dog angle. And I'm like, man, like I just wish like the
go
show
to like an NXT show.
I know, man. Why isn't NXT coming to Fayetteville? Damn it. But,
AEW, go to an AEW show.
I wanted to, but I just the timing and money didn't line up.
Okay.
SmackDown did, but unfortunately, AEW came a little too early for my paychecks.
It happens, but going back to this, I mean, the only thing of consequence that Lana really said is that she did file for divorce, and that Rusev can't be within 90 feet of her.
90 miles. This is the stupidest.
She said 90 miles. She said 90 miles. Bobby Lashley whispers into her ear, and he's like, "Oh, I love when he corrects me. It's because whenever I'm with him, I just get so flustered." And she says like 90 minutes, I think.
Like 90 minutes away, 90 feet away. I don't know. Like, it was such the ditzy. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
No, that wasn't.
That was good ad-libbing. It was actually pretty. You know what? I don't want to give it any praise. But
no, I will give Lana praise for like rolling with the punches, because that's what you're supposed to do in acting. You just keep rolling with the punches, like don't stop, just keep going, and that's what happened. She legit messed that up. There's no court that will like allow you like 90-mile like
You're
restraining order.
banned
Like
from like being within 2 counties.
you can't work at that point. At that point, Rusev can't work.
And for one, how did they prove it? Like, we're gonna GPS his phone. Like, oh look, Rusev is 3 counties
Ankle
away.
monitor, maybe
Yeah,
ankle monitor.
oh my
Oh man.
god. But
Uh,
yeah,
going back to the match. Like I said, it was nothing of a match. I love Noe Jose. I think he's great. But he lost to
Jose is there
callback.
to collect a check, bro. Like, Jose is
He's
a
a
WWE
check
employee to
party,
collect a check and party, man. Like, I
but
wonder. I wonder if Jose's enjoying his time, because you never like you hear about all these other wrestlers that are distressed about how they're being used. I don't recall ever hearing anything about No Way Jose, even though he's always on the wrong side of an ass kicking. I don't think he's ever been like dominant or a force since early into his NXT days.
I mean, I'll put it this way, and this is no knock on him by any means, but if he were to leave right now, WWE, go to the Indies, would he be a draw anywhere, or would anyone
No,
really be like? So, like the last person I can think of that left that wasn't like a big draw like that and made themselves a bigger name was Juice
Sandow.
Robinson.
Oh,
No, well, no. Sandow, he fizzled out after a bit. But Juice Robinson over in New Japan, who used to be CJ Parker in NXT, he was legit just like the glorified jobber to the stars in NXT. And he went over to New Japan and became U.S. champion.
I
I
thought
think.
you said like the last person that left WWE and didn't make something out of themselves.
Oh no. I meant like the last person that left WWE that was like a lower name kind of person, kind of like a Noe Jose, and did make something out of themselves was like CJ Parker slash Juice
Well, no,
Robinson.
you got Sean Spears, man. Sean Spears, he was
I mean,
floundering as Ty
he was
Dillinger.
he was over. He was really over when given the chance. The thing with Sean Spears slash Ty Dillinger is that you had a vocal group of like wrestling Twitter and just fans in the crowd
People don't
that were
react to
behind
No
them.
Way Jose at all. Yeah, he's kind of like
Exactly.
yeah, people. If he disappeared, like the WWE audience probably wouldn't even notice, considering he's not even on television, but like once every couple months.
Here's the thing. Usually every wrestler has like like a stand fandom on Twitter, and I've never seen a freaking No Way Jose stand account. So no knock on No Way Jose again, but again, like I don't think anyone would really miss him too much. The match wasn't too big of a deal. Bobby Lashley callback to Chris Masters, busted out the full Nelson, aka the Master Lock, and won that way. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, passed it out to the full Nelson, man.
I thought it was cool. I've never seen Bobby Lashley win with the submission. He's usually just been like a spear or his dominator, and that was it. I've never seen him finish with a full Nelson, which I thought was cool.
Yeah. Oh well, after Bobby Lashley finished off Jose, Lana practically finished off Bobby Lashley in the damn ring.
I was gonna skip all over that.
Less said about that, the better. Though we cut back earlier in the night. It was announced that Seth Rollins was putting his shot up for grabs as team captain of Raw to Andrade in a match. So Andrade and Seth had a match, and for once, this is when the show started to turn around for us. These guys put on a hell of a back and forth match. We didn't have to worry about a screwy finish because Zelina Vega went for her patented Hurricanrana on the outside. Rollins caught her. He held on to her long enough for the ref to see, so the ref ended up ejecting Zelina Vega, and then that allowed Rollins and Andrade I guess it's appropriate here to burn it down, man, in the arena there, because these guys killed it. I was wondering how the finish was going to come, and we finally get a invasion angle from SmackDown. So SmackDown was the first of the two, I guess we'll call them main roster brands, to attack each other instead of NXT. This didn't make sense to me. I would think, I mean, I get you're trying to get an edge up, and SmackDown was pretty much clean swept last year. But when you have like an imposing threat like NXT, you would probably try to form some form of camaraderie with Raw in agreement to take out NXT first and then leave it down to, the OGs of the brands. But apparently
Yeah, but see, that would make too much sense.
exactly.
Kyle,
I was saying apparently that logic was fleeting them. So you have SmackDown come out. I think it was like Lucha House Party came.
it was Lucha House Party. They came out and they attacked Seth Rollins on the outside. And once they completely destroyed Seth Rollins, they went to the inside the ring. They surrounded Andrade and they started to beat him down until Seth Rollins came in and made the save.
Yeah, so this made SmackDown look like a bunch of wimps, man, because they got fended off by just the two guys, right? They got fended off by.
To be fair, if we're gonna go not to bring Dragon Ball Z logic talk back into it, but power levels in terms of like power levels for wrestlers, Andrade and Seth Rollins have like two of the highest power levels in all of wrestling right now. And as much as I love Lucha House Party, they haven't been used that much. They haven't won too many matches, won too many feuds. So even collectively, they might not be like a match for these two guys. And what was more telling for me, two things. Like one small little like nitpicky thing was that the big Fox logo at the back of all
on
the
their
SmackDown
shirts. I loved that, man. I
thought it was ridiculous.
That had to have been Fox's like, okay, yeah, we'll let our guys on your show, but you need to let us have some advertising.
That's exactly what that was. And
I
then,
would have been, dude. It would have been more hilarious if WWE, like if USA just leaned full on into it and threw up a second watermark on the screen and had like a Fox watermark next to the USA mark. Oh, that would have been great. Or maybe even a little graphic of like a Fox watermark coming in and chair shotting the USA network watermark.
Oh, I'm sure like there would be Fox Twitter account that's something along those lines.
Because that's what Fox will do, like with their watermarks and advertisements and stuff that pop up on the bottom of the screen during a show. They'll do little animations. Now, granted, they're never repping someone else's network, but that's what I could think of.
Right.
But anyway, yeah.
I thought that was a nice little like tidbit right there. And then two, was this a little bit of a face turn for Andrade? Because afterwards he was showing respect.
Yeah, absolutely.
But here's the thing, like, okay, so I think what they did is like it wasn't a face turn because like for me, like the match had part one and a part two. When Selena was there and when she wasn't. When she was there, you could tell like Andrade was wrestling a certain way. He was more heelish. He was using a Selena to his advantage. Once she left, he was forced to like use every ounce of like wrestling ability he had, and we saw what a baby face Andrade can really do. Because when he first debuted in NXT and he tried to be a baby face, it wasn't connecting with the NXT crowd, and he needed a Selena Vega. Now we're starting to see that he's kind of gotten into his zone. The crowd reacts to him. They realize he's a great wrestler. I think we're starting to see like a glimpse of what a face Andrade can be without Selena Vega. And I'm not saying I don't like Selena Vega and she shouldn't be around, but
I love me some Selena Vega, man.
No, she's great. I think she's great. I think she should be allowed to wrestle a little bit more too.
Character.
But my thing is that we might be getting close to the point where Andrade won't need her, and it will be like an Andrade by himself, and he can stand on his own, which is something I'd want to see.
It'd be cool if now I don't know because you're always risky when you pair up real life couples. But if you got a heel turn by Aleister Black at some point, and that's what fulfills the face turn is Andrade says he doesn't need Vega, and Vega enlists her real life husband, I think. And
I think that could work though, especially since if you see Selena Vega's Instagram account, she can get very like gothic and like dark themed with a lot of her look. I think it could fit. I think it could work. But that's what I'm saying fantasy booking.
Yeah. What, more or less what I mean is like real life chemistry doesn't always translate to on-screen chemistry. I mean, perfect example is look at Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. They looked awkward as hell around each other. Granted, Becky Lynch was never a valet, where Zelina Vega, it's easy for her to be a valet. But anyways, now we're getting a little off. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like, last thing I could say about that is that like Becky Lynch had this whole dominant the man character where you could say she's at the same level as Seth Rollins, and her to like be like, now I'm not saying in any kind of way, but like maybe like be more of who Rebecca Quinn is, like like herself with Seth Rollins. Like it's like a fine line trying to like jump between the man and being Seth Rollins' fiance, and vice versa for Seth. Because Seth kind of came off as like that kind of like nerdy boyfriend that
Yeah.
stayed in the hot cheerleader, you know. But again, like I guess that just didn't work. Maybe Selena versus and Alistair could have worked, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, we'll see what happens. Well,
Exactly. Speaking of Aleister Black, though, we cut backstage, and this was great. This is I am all for this, man. Buddy Murphy walks up. Buddy Murphy has found Aleister Black's dressing room, banged on his door, and was yelling on the outside of the door, "Aleister Black, I am here to pick a fight with you." And he used the mannerisms like mockingly, like he used Aleister Black's own mannerisms as he was calling him out. He gives it only a second, says, "You know
walks
what?
away.
I knew it. You were all talk." He walks off, and then I think unintentionally hilarious. I don't think they meant to be as funny as they were. Aleister Black runs out the door like an excited child. It was like, who was that? And he's not there to be found. That segment was way funnier than I think they were actually trying to go for. I think
I don't think they intended for funny, but
Yeah.
it came off
dude, that was
hilarious.
hilarious, man.
It was hilarious.
We did
Um,
end up getting a match, however, between Buddy Murphy and Akira Tozawa. And to my surprise, they let this match run the whole way with no screwy finish, no interference from Black since they just teased the feud. They just let these two former cruiserweight champions go out there and have probably the best match of the night.
Oh yeah, there were so many spots. Like obviously, we're not trying to sit here and go beat for beat because man, they just hit it out the park.
Just take it from us. If you haven't watched Raw, go back and just watch this match. Watch the segment that preceded the match because the backstage segment is hilarious, and then watch the actual match itself. Yeah, exactly. We could sit here and go beat for beat, but it won't do it justice.
The one thing I will say about this is that it's a nice, refreshing pace to see Akira Tozawa get some light here on Raw. This is actually his debut match on Raw since the draft.
Really? Okay. I hate to say it, but I like as much as I love Tozawa, I don't. He seems like the type of guy WWE will not know what to do with.
No, I totally agree with that.
He strikes me, and it's not because of his ethnicity or anything like that, but we can go by previous examples. They could be full on racist and play him out like Taka Michinoku was. And
You could do a
Funaki.
Kung Fu Naki. I was about to say that.
Yeah, or they could go a more tasteful route, but still not utilize him to his potential and use him like they did Tajiri and make him comedic. But what this guy is best at is his in-ring charisma and his in-ring skill. Like this, he not only is great at matches, he's just such a different person in the ring than a lot of other guys. Like the way he yells and his chants and everything. I'm a huge Tozawa fan. Like I really am. But like I just know WWE is such a hard fit for him to get any type of footing and momentum.
I was kind of hoping that with the draft, I've always said this. I know him and Shinsuke are pretty good friends, and you know how Shinsuke has this whole like group forming over there on SmackDown with Sami Zayn and apparently now Cesaro. I thought, like, I've always liked the idea of Shinsuke being like the head of the group, Sami Zayn being like the mouthpiece, like the underling guy, having like some mid card guy there, which I was hoping would be like Hideo Itami, but in this case it's going to be Cesaro, and having Tozawa there to be like the other guy, or like maybe like I don't know. I felt like Tozawa, you pair him up with like a Shinsuke, Sami Zayn, and Cesaro. I think that does wonders for him. I think guys like Tozawa and even guys like Cedric Alexander can benefit from like doing a New Japan approach to things where even though they don't have too many storylines going for them, if you put them in a stable, in a group, in a faction, they are on TV. There's more reason to see them on TV, and they can be involved in matches that otherwise they wouldn't be involved in. Like you see on, like, not to talk about New Japan too much, but you see like on Bullet Club, you have like Chase Owens over there, who is not by any means, like, as much as I love Chase Owens, he's by no means like a big factor of Bullet Club, but he's always in some kind of big match. He's usually taking the pin, but he's always involved in the match.
Yeah. So I guess that's one good thing to ask for the comments, man. Is if you guys are a fan of Tozawa, how could you book him to get him to break free of like forever mid carder that eats pins? Because like tonight, I mean, it was a foregone conclusion. We kind of knew it was coming if the match was going to play itself out. Buddy Murphy did pick up the hard fought victory with Murphy's Law. It scored the pinfall against Tozawa. So it wasn't really a surprise, but it shouldn't have been a surprise also that this was a show stealing match, man.
Oh.
Yeah, it was wonderful. After the match, Murphy goes backstage, knocks again on Black's door. Black answers, and then they have a stare off that I think was supposed to convey intensity, but it kind of conveyed like lack of expression. They almost looked like NPCs in a video game, just looking at each other, and the files that would load expression on their face didn't load. So they just kind of had like blank stares.
Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think Buddy Murphy even knocked on the door. I think he just got to the front of the door, stared at it, and was about to knock the door open.
Yeah,
like almost like Alistair was like waiting, like almost like he sensed them, or I don't know, maybe he put like a peephole, like in there to like to see when somebody was coming through. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. But I thought that worked out a little bit more less comedic than the first interaction. But
they didn't convey the intensity. Now, granted, us fans of the two guys know what we're in for. You know what I mean? We are in for whatever show you put these guys on. If you allow them time, they're gonna have the match of the night, like hands down. I would bet my house on it. But
it's the thing. Next week's Raw is starting to like take shape, and it looks like they're gonna have a couple really good matches on there, which I'm excited for. Given that I'm gonna be there, we're gonna have Humberto versus AJ. Maybe we get Alistair versus Buddy Murphy,
or at least a build for them, because that's a pay-per-view level match. That ain't no like throwaway episode of Raw, unless you're gonna start a feud. Unless you're gonna start like a best of 7 feud over here.
No, I don't. As much as I'd love to see 7 matches between Aleister Black and Buddy Murphy, I'd rather see like a feud build up and have a pay-per-view quality match for Aleister Black at TLC.
Yeah,
give me a reason to like be more hyped for that show.
Yeah, one thing that won't get you hype is what preceded that segment, and we have Eric Rowan making his way to the ring with his pet carrier covered in that burlap sack. I think the intrigue of what's in the carrier is definitely going to be more entertaining than the reveal of what it is. I was laughing to myself last night. I hope it's just like a guinea pig. Like, I hope he's got a pet guinea pig, and once he unveils what it is, he just turns into like this comedy, really soft, sensitive Eric Rowan and just throws a huge swerve, because they're going to try and convey something disturbing, and it's going to fall on its face, man. It is. Like, the only thing I can legitimately actually think they would probably do is have the goat mask, and then somehow he reforms his alliance with Bray Wyatt, even though Bray does not need him and is the furthest.
Wait, but no, but Bray Wyatt's on SmackDown. There's no way they can even do that.
But then you have unmasked Eric Rowan on Raw and goat masked Rowan on SmackDown. I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. It's gonna be
the fact
silly.
that we actually have a brand split now. It's kind of like really messy with some people, because I was listening to like, I think it was last week's Raw podcast where like you were talking to Rob about who would he like Becky to take the title? Who'd he like to like get the title off of Becky? And he was naming Bailey or Sasha. I'm like, dude, they're both on SmackDown,
Yeah,
dude. There's no way that can happen. It's like he came like in the midst of the mid card and the wild card rule and stuff, so he doesn't understand the concept of like brand split. When it's in place and they actually decide to follow through with it,
there
there's
is
no interaction.
Yeah, outside
No.
of these big pay-per-views. But
Yeah.
Eric Rowan's out there to take on Alex Malcolm, looking like a knockoff Mayhem Miller for any MMA fans out there. But Alex Malcolm, local enhancement talent, as these guys are having the match, apparently Rowan is like a black hole for the 24/7 scene, because out come the Bollywood boys, or the Singh brothers rather, being chased by R-Truth. Rowan lays out the Singh brothers. Truth gets wise. He takes off. Alex Malcolm ends up in the middle of the Singh brothers, and Rowan delivers one of the most devastating looking cross bodies across all three guys. And I forget who was on the far side. I believe it was one of the Singh brothers. Looked like he took the bulk of Rowan's weight, and he crushed that poor fella.
Yeah.
But yeah, he ends up dragging Alex back into the ring. He ends up taking him out, I believe. I can't even remember what he finished. Probably the claw slam. I think my son was getting
Yeah, it
sick.
was the claw slam.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing big here happening. Just Eric Rowan getting another squash match. Like I said, the one intriguing thing with Eric Rowan is whatever's in that little like burlap sack thingy that he's got in that cage. Time will tell what it'll be. Like, I mean, everybody was so hyped up for like the big reveal at Survivor Series, and it turned out to be the gobbledygooker.
Yeah.
So stuff has fallen on its face.
Yeah,
in terms of reveals.
It's
So
like
we'll see.
it's a little mini gobbledygooker is what it is. They've shrunk it. Oh man, no. So following the match, we get the biggest story development. We have a match between Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens. Like you were saying earlier in the night, they started highlighting that this match was ill-advised. We're about to go to Survivor Series. We should not have Raw guys taking on other Raw guys that are both members of the team, because you're just weakening your team going into the event. However, that did not stop Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre from having the match of the night. I stand corrected. I forgot about this match. This was match of the night. As good as Murphy and Tozawa was, this match had all the elements. This was a full-on pay-per-view caliber match, like a blow-off feud title match. They really pulled out all the stops, high spots, near falls, multiple finishers. You had Kevin Owens receiving a Claymore kick just to get his foot on the ropes, and then turnabout's fair play. Kevin Owens hits the stunner on McIntyre. Same thing happens, and just as the match crescendos and Kevin Owens manages to hit the second stunner, which seemingly is going to finish the match, we do get a little bit of an odd choice here. Triple H's music hits. Earlier in the day, we saw him arrive in his caravan of SUVs, knowing that it's going to be the NXT guys that follow him. But Triple H comes out before Kevin Owens can make the pin, and we cut to commercial. And when we come back, the match is seemingly stopped. We don't actually get a conclusion to who won or what the decision even was. It's as if Triple H had the authority to call it all off. Triple H goes.
Yeah, he Thanos snapped Drew McIntyre or something. I guess.
Man. Yeah. Oh God. Poor McIntyre, man. That dude just is. Just when you think McIntyre is getting pushed, he is just used as a pawn to further someone else's story, man. But Triple H comes out. He lays pretty much the groundwork for Kevin Owens that he was lightly doing for Seth Rollins the previous week. Except with Kevin Owens, it was much more heartfelt and genuine. He kind of goes along the lines that He goes over Kevin Owens' accolades from his time at NXT and then compares it to how he has been on the main roster and how WWE realized that they didn't really want Kevin once they had him. And essentially, the Kevin Owens hasn't been used to his potential ever since he's been on WWE. At this time, you have NXT guys. Off the top of my head, I want to say like Dijak and oh god,
it was Damian Priest.
yeah,
It was the Forgotten Sons, and I believe, yes, you're right. I think it was Dijak.
Were out there. Triple H motions to him, and he's like, "I'm not giving you an ultimatum. They're here. They came all the way." He implies from Full Sail to ensure that we could have this conversation. They're in here to fend off anybody that might break up this talk, and then which was a great storyline tool because he then transitions into look how no one's here to stop us from talking. It just further proves they don't care about you. In which case, eventually, I think it was SmackDown or Raw. No, Raw came out.
No, it was Raw's loser locker room.
Yeah, came out. Raw comes out. They start attacking the NXT guys finally at the ramp, and in which case, Undisputed Era comes in and they beat down Kevin Owens, and then you see Triple H and
Adam Cole having words.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of going at it. Adam Cole looking seemingly offended, which this leads me to believe. Now, this is, like I said, this has kind of been my theory here, is we're going to see some form of defection at the very least a Survivor Series. I've been kind of playing around with the idea that we might even see an invasion angle take place at War Games. Which I think is being overlooked. I think everyone kind of is under the understanding that Raw, SmackDown, and NXT are going to battle it all the way up till SmackDown, and then all of a sudden War Games is going to get a free pass, and no one's going to try to invade War Games. But
the thing with War Game, here's the thing: the whole thing with that is that that's nothing but a Triple H show. So my whole thing is that Triple H isn't going to sacrifice the quality of his own show just to further anher show. I mean, even with NXT, he's incorporated Bailey.
NXT is on network television now. Before we get too heavy into the politics side of things, at the end of the day, Vince's word is law, and if he can use an NXT pay-per-view to help put over one of his shows, which you got to remember, Survivor Series was the first main roster pay-per-view to lose in the ratings war to an NXT takeover. The first time NXT takeover outdrew a pay-per-view, it was a Survivor Series. So it wouldn't surprise me. Granted, it is a long shot. I don't think it's a surefire thing. But
so what I say is that I don't think you're wrong. I just think it won't be what we might think it'll be.
Maybe,
I think
maybe
it's going to
like
be
to close the night. To close the night, you have guys like whatever the main event is. Let's say it's the War Games men's match is closing the night, and let's say members of that match are actually going to be participants in Survivor Series the following night. Maybe what happens is the match comes to fruition, and it's concluded and done. And then Raw and SmackDown close the pay-per-view. Like the ending shot of the pay-per-view is Raw and SmackDown invading War Games, beating up the men's War Game participants. Yeah. That way you haven't compromised any of the matches, and you left a cliffhanger for the following night's pay-per-view. So
even that, I don't think they even do that, because like going back to, like I said, like NXT the last couple times, like NXT has invaded SmackDown and Raw, but that's mostly because that's what Vince has wanted to do. If you look at what the shows that Triple H has produced and put together, the very first invasion angle was just DOC, no one else. Last week it was just Bailey wrecking havoc, and it was enough. It wasn't too much, because here's the thing: he's still trying to put on his own show, because after he's not focused about main roster. He's focused on about his own show, and Takeovers has consistently been like the best, like wrestling shows in any company the last couple of years. He will incorporate a little bit of it. It'll be kind of like to the extent. Remember when Seth Rollins showed up randomly to like hijack a takeover to set up that WrestleMania match with Triple H? It's gonna be something like that. It's gonna be like a Bayley or a Becky Lynch. That might be it. It might be the women closing it off, and then Becky Lynch like either costing Team Shayna or attacking Shayna after the match. It might be a Becky Lynch showing up at NXT. It might be like a face or like one wrestler or two wrestlers here and there. It won't be a full on invasion. If we see that, it's going to be on NXT TV or it's going to be on SmackDown. Which coincidentally, I don't know if you guys were getting that, but given that I'm here in Chicago and they're trying to like hype everybody up to get tickets for the SmackDown show here on Friday, they were saying that on Friday Night SmackDown, the NXT, Raw, and SmackDown superstars were gonna go to war on Friday Night SmackDown.
Yeah. I mean, that's because it is the final show leading into the pay-per-view weekend. So
Yeah, I
totally
wasn't
believe it.
I wasn't sure if that was just a Chicago local advertisement to like get everybody to buy tickets, or if that was just like in general.
But so let's go from this whole fantasy booking angle, which is more unlikely, and go into what is almost what I consider a sure thing. And that is some form of defection on one of the brands.
For sure.
So far,
It's
right now, what's been teased for defection has been we have
Kevin Owens for sure.
Daniel Bryan's has been approached for joining NXT. Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, and then going by what happened on Raw, you have now Adam Cole seemingly a little bit upset. So you give him slight odds. Now, I think the favorite is got to be Kevin Owens. Even getting beat down by Undisputed Era, which logically would dictate that, like, you're going to have beef with them. But just because you show up in a brand doesn't mean once TakeOver and Survivor Series is done that people aren't going to be fighting on that brand. You know what I mean? So it is interesting. But I believe in order for the night to have to be successful, you got to have some crazy story, like out of the blue story thing happen. And I believe that has got to be somebody defecting their brand. And it could be a swerve and be none of these guys, and maybe we get like a debut or we get a return from someone, and they turn on their brand. But I believe
Speaking of
someone
defection,
has to turn.
Do you think it'll be a case where, because like the NXT men's and women's Survivor Series team hasn't been set? Do you think it'll be a thing where Kevin Owens or someone defects to NXT that Wednesday, and now Raw or SmackDown are scrambling to fill it, or
save it for the show itself?
Oh, okay. So it's going to be kind of like a Big Show thing where he turns his back on Team WWE to help the Authority win, and then he just KOs John Cena.
Now, what I would like to see happen, which I know it's not going to, just given the impact of it, but what I would like for it to happen I would love for it just to be the entire team of OC to follow Finn Balor onto NXT and form Balor Club or Bullet Club 2.0. Just because we got the tease, on NXT the other week, we haven't had anything come of it.
Right.
And it would be so much better utilized on NXT television than it would, say, on Raw. But the idea that you're going to lose 3 prominent Raw members to NXT, that would only work in the realm of, say, like Undisputed Era all of a sudden comes over as a faction onto Raw, or you lose maybe Forgotten Sons. They fill the OC's role. Because they have similar characters and everything too. They all kind of look like bikers and really rough around the edges. But that would be my favorite thing. I've been calling for it ever since all 4 of those guys ended up under the same banner, for them to finally join a 4-man faction. But like I said, that's probably not ever going to happen, because
probably.
Why would
what I'd like
happen?
to see is Finn join forces with the OC for like a takeover or whatever to take on Undisputed Era in a 4-on-4 match.
That'd be dope. That'd be dope
Yeah.
as hell. Following this up, we get Rey Mysterio. We got to cut back to the show because boy, we could talk about that whole angle we could make an entire episode out of just that, which we could do on the predictions. So following that, we get a interview with Rey Mysterio and Paul Heyman, pretty much just hyping their match at Survivor Series. This is now going to be a no holds barred match, which Ray promises he's going to win now because he brandishes the lead pipe. He says he's going to use that. But I think this is going to be more as a tool to get Dominic and Cain Velasquez involved. How cool would it be if Rey Mysterio walks away from Survivor Series with the title? The match that probably has been the most favorited for Brock to win.
I'd be so happy.
Swerve us.
So happy because I don't know if I've ever had a full-on rant about it on the podcast, but I legit like John Cena is one of my favorites of all time, but I still will never ever forgive him taking the title from Rey Mysterio. Like you're supposed to be a babyface. The guy just won the title. You come out and challenge him. You give him basically an hour to get ready for that match. He's not at 100%. You're already like prime Super Cena, and you beat him for the WWE title just to set up Punk versus John Cena. I know, granted, that's just WWE trying to like fast forward to have the title versus title match at SummerSlam, but it should have been a thing where that John Cena Rey Mysterio match happens at SummerSlam. You let CM Punk go in the Indies, make it really seem like he's left, even though he's signed. I don't know. I just never really liked that.
Yeah,
I don't think Ray ever had a fair shake at a main title.
It's one of those angles, like one of the biggest like what ifs. You know, like if you had just handled it better. Yeah, it was. No, I hear what you're saying.
You gave me hope. Now I'm over here. If I don't see Cain,
but no, I didn't have hope for this match either until they made the announcement that it's no holds barred, and I'm like, damn! Now you finally level the playing field. Ray can use weapons. Dominic can get some comeuppance on Brock. You know, Dominic can come out there and lay him out with a chair.
That'd be the ultimate payback, or the ultimate payoff.
Yeah, and Cain Velasquez isn't completely out the picture too, because at first, you know, obviously he has this lingering knee issue, which is the result of what happened at Crown Jewel, and they said that he's going to need surgery. Well, since those reports have come out, it's now being reported that at the San Antonio show, Cain Velasquez, who was originally slated, then pulled, is now back on that show. So he's still cleared to wrestle. Like, I guess this dude is like borderline too injured to wrestle. Like, he's just barely passing to be cleared for in-ring work. But as of right now, from what I've heard, he is cleared. And obviously, you know, power ranking wise, like you were saying earlier, even Ray and Dominic don't stand a chance head on against Brock unless it is preemptive, like a super precise airstrike style attack on this guy.
Or a bunch of lead pipes.
A bunch of lead. Even then, man, all Brock's got to do, you still got to hit him from behind. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, even with a lead pipe facing him.
You're probably going to have to get hit it, like get like a couple like 10 lead pipe like between the leg shots just to like make it an even playing field.
But
I hate to say it.
You introduce Cain now to the fray, and now we got something, you know. And so, I mean, there's a chance. There's a chance, man. We'll have to wait and see. And once again, this is something we'll have to save for the predictions.
For sure.
But we'll go on to the main event, Natalya versus Asuka. And I've got to say, man, Natalya has been such a sleeper as of late, as far as her in-ring performance goes. Like,
no, this wasn't the main event. It was the tag match.
It was a tag match.
It was the Raw tag title match.
Oh, no. You're right. I apologize. I remember at the
semi-main event.
Yeah, co-main event.
There you go.
Yeah. Natalya and Asuka they had a very good match. It was this one is like probably the least notable out of everything. Asuka does pick up the victory, but Natalya has just been looking very good, even in defeat. Man, she's been looking really good in the match. Once again, this just proves you're having Raw superstars face each other leading into the Survivor Series match. It doesn't quite make sense because Natalya is going to be teaming with the Kabuki Warriors this Sunday, and so when you have these two wearing each other out doesn't make too much sense, you know. But once again, man, good wrestling, very good wrestling for the show. But now, yes, we have the main event, which is earlier. Once we had Curtis Axel and Zack Ryder taken out. Randy Orton stepped in, but he was going to have a mystery partner, which, I mean, given WWE, this was super predictable. I called this all night long. It winds up being Ricochet. You have the whole story of former foes becoming allies, which I get it. What I really wanted from this was Ricochet at some point to hit his what it's called, the recoil, right?
Yeah.
Just out of nowhere, him and Randy Orton standing tall, and then he hits Randy Orton with a recoil, kind of taking Randy Orton's advice, like hitting who you want when you want, just because you feel like it, and Ricochet kind of throwing that back in his face. That would have been nice, but that was that definitely. That was just some more fantasy booking. Really, this match didn't get off too much. However, I will say that Ricochet and it's Ivar, right? Who's
Ivar
is the high flyer of the group. And it was
Eric is your doppelganger.
Yeah, Ivar and Ricochet have one of the best back and forth signature high flyer versus high flyer segments where they're countering each other and doing cartwheels and springboards. But just the dynamic of you have Ricochet, who's probably $170, $180 at best, and Ivar, who's got to be about 310, 320 in there, doing similar moves, encountering each other with speed and dives. Dude, I was tickled. This actually got vocal reactions out of me. I was yelling at my wife because she was watching Dancing with the Stars or The Good Doctor or whatever, and I'm like, yo, you're missing this. This is what you need to be watching. But man, no, these guys killed it. The match you couldn't have a winner to this match. You couldn't have Randy Orton and Ricochet, an impromptu team, beat the tag champions. And obviously you can't have anybody beat Randy Orton. So we end up getting just the biggest brawl. How many guys would you say were out there? We had to have about 30 guys. Because you
could have had a Royal Rumble with the amount of talent we had.
You
there.
had almost NXT's entire locker room out there.
Yeah, because it started off with SmackDown. They slowly made their way to the ring. They were surrounded. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Heavy Machinery, Lucha House Party, Rudolph, and Cesaro that came. Oh, because this is what happened, actually. So it was the match, right?
Yeah.
And then they cut to the back, and it was SmackDown superstars attacking some Raw wrestlers. They come back from commercial. The match starts. It goes back to the match. That's when the interference comes from SmackDown. They surround the ring, and they start to make a jump for it. Or at least they want to, but NXT jumps them before they're able to properly attack the Raw superstars in the ring. And that's when more NXT superstars come out. And NXT probably had 15 to 20 superstars just by themselves.
What I really liked was the last stand style that they had with the Raiders and Orton and Ricochet in the ring. Obviously outnumbered at least 4-1. And then as NXT made their way into the ring, you still had Orton and Ricochet firing their shots, popping off RKOs and recoils until obviously the numbers overwhelmed them. But I liked, instead of we're outnumbered and then just getting straight up beat down, no, they just started hitting their big moves until it was just being overwhelmed. And
Which
then
makes sense.
yeah, exactly. You don't stand there and take it. You go out fighting. But I like that they were using their signature moves instead of going out fighting like brawl until they're beat down. It looked nice. It looked better from a story point and everything else. But then yeah, it just divulged into chaos. You had all three rosters out there just going ham with each other. It was so messy, but it was awesome. It was
The
so
one the
good.
one thing I will nitpick about that I hated, and I knew it was going to be an issue the minute that they started doing the brand warfare segment, like storyline going into Survivor Series. I knew, like, I love me some ACDC, but that SmackDown theme song does
Oh,
not get you
I
hyped because
forgot.
the match is happening, and then the song starts. Are you ready? I'm like,
Yeah.
what? No, it was so lame, so corny. And here's the thing: SmackDown didn't even send any member that's in the men's Survivor Series team or the any of the women. Like they legit just sent like their mid card and
Yeah.
like two tag teams. And I'm over here like SmackDown got like wrecked. They didn't really do much. Seth Rollins, at least what they did with Raw, because Raw doesn't have the most hype theme song either, but they at least like played Seth Rollins' theme song, and he was like kind of like the general that led like the rest of the Raw roster. What was cool actually about it is that like one thing, AJ came down and I don't know who he tried to attack, but he fell down halfway through the ramp and then just fell on his face. And then once they
I
got into
miss
the
that.
ring, yeah, so once NXT was taking over and they were and Undisputed Era was in the ring, AJ Styles went in there, and I love the way he sold that jumping knee from Roderick Strong because he legit just like collapsed and just like had spaghetti legs and just like died right there, and it was just really cool because like it just spiraled into chaos. This is what I've been wanting to see. A lot of people have been clamoring for like a full on invasion from SmackDown as well. They didn't send the best superstars that SmackDown had to offer. Maybe they had a house show. I don't know. I thought it was cool. I loved the visual. I thought it was great. It's building it
Who
up.
doesn't love a good brawl? You know what I mean? Especially when the
And
superstars outnumber the staff.
yeah, for sure. And the thing too is that Triple H had the biggest tidbit of the night was saying, "This is you bringing the war to us. We're going to bring the war 10 times forward," or whatever he was saying. And he said that the door is open on this Wednesday at NXT, SmackDown, Raw, you name it. The door is open. It's wide open, open wide. Come whoever dares, whatever.
Yeah.
So really making people, which is great because I didn't think about it at the point. I'm thinking about it right now as I'm talking to you, Kyle. That's a great way to swing viewers to NXT, and maybe this could be the one week where NXT beats AEW in the ratings war because last week's episode of NXT of AEW was still solid, but it wasn't like the best show. It was like a solid by the numbers type of show for them, and this is a go home show for NXT, and it's an invasion angle, so we're probably gonna see just the intrigue alone is probably gonna drive people over there because when they narrowed the gap and it was NXT just like by a couple hundred, by a couple thousand, they were like behind on AEW. It was because the OC interfered and like showed up on NXT. Now, if you're having a full on invasion this Wednesday, man, you're like Triple H really like brought the intrigue level up, and I wouldn't be surprised to see like NXT get close to 1 million viewers, if not like a little bit underwards, but beat AEW in ratings this week.
Yeah, I'll tell you where intrigue is going to bring people as well. And that's going to be our 100th episode that comes up tomorrow, folks. Thank you for tuning into our show today, man. Yeah, Raw was badass. This is one of those shows that we could actually go on forever. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right, Vince, man. I'm stoked for NXT. I think this is the first week I'm kind of bummed that I'm covering AEW. But I'm gonna obviously, since we're doing the Super Show, I'm actually gonna watch both shows prior. So I can't wait. But make sure you guys tune in all week long. I'm not gonna run down. We've got like 2 predictioned episodes. We still have recaps for AEW, NXT, SmackDown, and then of course we're going to be covering War Games and Survivor Series. So you guys just keep it tuned in with us, man. Thank you guys once again for joining us. Hit us up on Twitter and in the comment section what else you'd like to see and what your guys' thoughts are on the overall shows. But until next time, man, you guys have a good one.
Later, y'all.